Hi, welcome to this episode of The Daily. My name is Brendan Malone. Well, last week we saw yet another horrific terror attack take place in Belgium. What was interesting to me was within hours of this event taking place, there was a particular narrative being spun in the mainstream media about the cause of this attack, which I think really fails to get to the heart of what is actually going on here. Effectively, the narrative says that the cause of this terror attack is poverty and class segregation of sorts that is going on within Belgian society. So effectively, they're blaming Belgium for this attack. There's some problems that I can see straight away with this particular suggestion. First of all, there are plenty of places around the world where you can point to where there is poverty and where there is class segregation that's happening. And the simple fact is that those groups are not responding to that by engaging in terror attacks to try and inflict the maximum number of human casualties as possible on the society in which they live. So I don't think there's simply a good enough response to say that this is just class or poverty related. Secondly, the fact is that ISIS have claimed responsibility for this attack. This is an ISIS attack. ISIS is a religiously motivated group, and the articles that I read seem to almost completely ignore the fact that ISIS are involved in this. And thirdly, the recruiters who recruit for ISIS and other Islamic extremist groups don't recruit these young men by telling them that if they join them, then they are joining a class struggle, or they are joining a struggle for financial equality, or for justice and a just wage and everything else. That's not what they tell them. Instead, what they tell them is that they are engaged in a holy war, and that Muhammad and Allah has commanded them to engage in this war, and that the Muslim scriptures teach that they must engage in this form of holy war, this violent form of holy war. You see, what this narrative does is, and the reason we get this narrative is because in the West, we have a very aggressive secularism now that has sort of taken over the public square. And as a result of that, the marketplace of ideas has become really impoverished. And what I mean by that is that our ability to reason well and to think about issues outside of a very narrow reductionist square is becoming less and less evident. And this is a classic example of it. See, two of the main drivers in Western society now that we sort of blame everything on are economics and psychology. And that's exactly what this narrative falls prey to. It is a reductionist, secularist, sort of materialist narrative that tries to reduce this problem down to being simply about concepts that we can understand in the West. And so it says, look, there are economic problems here, and they are leading to a certain psychological problem, a pathology in these people, and that's why you're getting this problem. Well, in actual fact, that isn't really what's going on here at all, because this completely ignores the fact that there is a religious component to what is going on here. You see, the big issue here is the fact that within Islam at the moment, there is currently a battle for the soul of Islam taking place, if you like. There is a theological, scholarly struggle that is taking place. On one side, we have one group of theologians, scholars and teachers within the Islamic world who are saying that the Islamic scriptures can be contextualized, they can be interpreted, you can apply critical thinking to them, and that Islam therefore can be a religion of peace, that the scriptures which command violence need to be contextualized and put into their proper historical context. On the other side, there is another group of Islamic scholars, teachers, and others who are saying, no, in actual fact, you cannot contextualize the Islamic scriptures. The word of Allah is absolute. It is infallible. It cannot be reinterpreted. It must be taken as literal. And so when the Islamic scriptures command violence, they command holy war, they command subjugation of the infidels, this must be taken literally, and we must carry this out if we truly are faithful, dedicated Muslims. And if we don't do that, we're not being faithful to the Islamic faith. So what happens is, if you ignore this important battle that's going on within the soul of Islam and the struggle for what Islam as a religion actually is, then you're not really helping the solution at all. The two extremes that people go to in the West today are, one extreme is this narrative that we've already seen that says, well, Islam has nothing to do with this, there is no theological struggle, that all of Islam is about peace, and these people are just a deviation from the norm, and therefore there must be other factors involved. What that does is completely ignores the fact that there is a group of Islamic scholars at the moment who are working hard to try and win this battle and say, no, that Islam can be a religion of peace, that we can contextualize these scriptures, and it leaves those scholars effectively isolated out on their own without any support from the global community. On the other side of the coin, we have a whole lot of Westerners who are saying Islam is a religion of violence and all Muslims are psychos and they just want to kill us, and they do that because the Islamic scriptures command that, and they're all coming to get us and you can't trust Muslims. That also is flawed, because in actual fact that simply isn't true. There are a lot of Muslims who are peaceful, who do not make holy war, who have no desire to make holy war on the West, on the infidels, okay? And that approach is also problematic because it does the exact same thing as the other one. It completely ignores that group of scholars within Islam who are working hard to try and reform Islam and to grow and develop Islam into a religion where in actual fact you can contextualize these scriptures, that you can put them into an historical context, and therefore Islam can be a religion of peace. It's really, the simple fact is that we in the West are not really helping this problem at the moment. By pretending that there isn't a religious component to this, by failing to understand this issue properly, or by blaming all of Islam and saying that this is entirely a religious holy war that every Muslim is caught up in, we're not really getting to the heart of what's going on here. And we are only making the situation worse. And I think once again, a lot of this has to do with the fact that we in the West have become very reductionist in our thinking. We have this aggressive secularism, we have this moral relativism, we don't understand basic concepts of how to engage well with in a philosophical debate or discussion with people. Religious concepts are gone, and as a result now, we don't even really know how to engage properly with religious believers. It's the simple fact is that you cannot begin to even address this issue until you begin from a place of taking seriously the fact that people believe and hold these religious beliefs seriously. You cannot get anywhere by ridiculing and mocking people simply because of their religious beliefs. That doesn't work. That's what we've tried, and we continue to try in the West, thinking that's going to work. That's not going to work. This issue will not progress forward until we start taking religious belief seriously again in the West. You don't have to believe and accept religious belief, but there's no way you can enter into a fruitful dialogue and begin to transition this issue forward if you're going to start from a place of simply ridiculing and mocking people who hold religious beliefs by applying a reductionist, secularist, materialist mentality to everything and laughing at people and saying, well, I don't believe in fairies, so why should you? That's not a way to engage with people. It's not going to progress this issue any further. Thanks for watching. I'll see you tomorrow on The Daily.